What's a good word, everyone? It's your boy DKB here. I just want to say thanks for all the support. The channel's been steadily growing, and the number you see below, you can drop a text, shoot a voicemail, any ideas, topics, collabs, etc. you guys want to see. I'll include them in future videos and live streams, and I'll catch you again. Be easy. What's a good word, Jets fans? It's your boy DKB here. So I touched on this topic about a week ago when it comes to how long it's taken the New York Jets to complete their general manager and head coach search. Not just that, but even more specifically, just to move on to the second stage, right? We still haven't had secondary or final interviews completed yet, and we keep hearing these rumors that we should see them by next week or the end of the week or in the coming days. But realistically, I think you start to feel more pressure from a fan's perspective when you see the Titans come in and effectively wrap up their general manager head coach search in the span of less than 2 weeks. It feels like you have the Raiders that are also going to be on our heels here, where nobody's interviewing as many candidates as we are, whether it's from a head coach perspective or whether it's from a general manager perspective. So we're coming up on not only a ton of questions that needs to be answered, and you want to get the general manager installed and in place and the head coach installed and in place so they can really start correspondence on what's going to be the vision moving forward with the roster that we have intact. Question marks all over. Will the general manager and head coach have autonomy with Woody Johnson budging in on decisions, as we know? Will we be proactive about Aaron Rodgers, or will we wait to hear his decision on what he wants to do? And that may be another kind of long-winded conversation where we reached out to him and let him know, hey, we're interested, and now we got to wait for him to figure out if he still wants to play football and the whole gambit, right? Also, huge question marks from a cap perspective. We have the lowest rollover going into this new season. You also aren't going to see a ton of relief until you make decisions on Devontae Adams and Allen Lazard and some of these guys that may also all be predicated on Aaron Rodgers returning as well. Plus, key re-signings like Jamie Sherwood, if that ends up being a guy we feel like fits into the plan. So plenty of question marks, but none bigger than two of the most important off-season events. Arguably, maybe even more so than the Combine, right? Where it's turning more so into just a gym shorts competition. But we have the East-West Shrine Bowl game, January 30th, the Senior Bowl, February 1st, and we don't have our leadership in place. We don't have the decision makers and the new GM and the head coach. We don't even have all of our resources at the moment right now to really take advantage of that. I mean, you think back just a couple years ago where we had Jeff Ulbrich in place of things, and it felt like we had a very smooth operation from when he was announced as one of the head coaches, and I think he was actually at the Shrine Bowl, right? But nonetheless, no, maybe it was Senior Bowl. Either way, it felt like we had a smooth transition from when that was announced to when practices occurred, to when we got there, to the fluidity of information between Jeff Ulbrich to our front office, and then, of course, turning that into results of the draft. None of that's in play here. Phil Savage, current interim GM. Also, keep in mind, there might be some minor benefits here because he was the former Reese Senior Bowl executive director, but take a look at his job description, and this was prior to a lot of the events that occurred in the front office. So he evaluates college prospects and pro players while providing valuable insight on the player personnel department's overall philosophy, grading system, and annual approach to building the club's roster and practice squad. So he had to take care of all that, and that's not even the full gambit of responsibilities, but all of that prior to taking over as the GM for Joe Douglas when he got fired in week 12, I think. One of the craziest pieces to this is that we're also going to have to deal with figuring out how to get a respectable gathering of our personnel at these events when we don't have Chad Alexander, we don't have Rex Hogan, and again, we don't have a head coach or GM installed in place to be able to go out there. And that's usually when you send out the top trio or the top cadre, if you will, of front office personnel for you. They want to get their own eyes on this and stuff. So you back that up with also the potential issue that Phil Savage may not get retained when we hire our new GM, when we hire our new head coach. I think it'd probably be smart to, just because you're going to have to rely on him to have a decent first draft. But you're talking about a ton of weight on the shoulders of a man that, again, may not be sticking around here whatsoever. And
Also, maybe you don't trust him as much without having a GM installed in place, right? Or you don't know how much of the success from some of Joe Douglas's drafts were purely on Joe Douglas as a decision maker, right? So what I would expect just in terms of alternatives is we are looking at, or we do have anyways, John Carr, co-director of player personnel, and Jason Mandolisi, director of college scouting. They would most likely be the guys that we send out, but you're talking about having a very underwhelming unit, right? You probably have to send John Carr out to the Shrine Bowl, for example, with a couple national scouts or something, and then Senior Bowl would be Jason Mandolisi with a couple national scouts or area scouts, something like that. So I'm getting concerned here. A couple weeks ago, still no secondary interviews for GM or head coach. And things could turn around here in a week. But again, once you install these guys, there's a whole nother process to get them in the building, to get them acclimated, to try to get the scouting staff on the same page, try to build out your coaching staff, identify what characteristics, schemes, traits, etc. that you're looking for. So this may be a draft where it'll be assigned to the new GM, but in all likelihood, you're kind of setting them up to fail for their very first draft with how long it's been taking things here. So let me know what you guys think. Hopefully, if you guys heard any news on the Senior Bowl or Shrine Bowl front, maybe you can help relieve some stress here. But I do consider this to be one of the biggest question marks and one of the quickest concerns, a top one priority for me as soon as we do get the GM and head coach news in place. So let me know what you guys think. I'll catch you again. Peace.